Remember last week when I said I was never going to go back to this boot sale again? Well, I went back to this boot sale. There are other options around me, but this is the most convenient, and I'm sure that's why it's the busiest. That being said, the first stall I came to had this Woody Woodpecker Universal Glass. There are some games on the table which I'll look at in just a second. The games are Wii games that are pretty much worthless, unfortunately. However, the glass, that may have been worth picking up. Now, of course, I do primarily focus on video games and video game related items here, but every now and again I will pick up something that isn't video game related. And here it isn't, because I didn't buy it, huh? Now, I think this probably was worth buying. She only wanted £1 for it, but in my experience, glass is a nightmare. It's not covered on insurance through nearly any courier. It's very common for it to break because couriers use parcels as basketballs. So this could have sold for 10, 15, maybe even 20 quid, and I probably should have bought it, but just worth noting, if you see anything branded Universal, like Resort specifically, definitely worth looking up, even if you don't think it's worth money. I was a little bit determined to buy some actual video games in this boot sale that I could put into the collection, and I thought I'd stumbled on the perfect opportunity when I saw a crate of video games on the floor. All the resellers and collectors were swarming the table because this guy had boxed Mega Drives and all the rest of it. I was interested in Xbox 360 games, which not a lot of other people are currently interested in, and that's how I'm going to get these very, very cheap. Now, unfortunately, there wasn't really anything here that I wanted because I'm not in the sort of habit of collecting classics or anything. I saw one game, believe it or not, in this entire tub that I thought, yes, I will pick that up. I don't have it, I will put it into the collection. And unfortunately, there was an issue because that's just the way my week has gone. Call of Juarez, The Cartel. Never actually played this. I've played a lot of Xbox 360 games, and I mean a lot. And for some reason, I've never played it. Unfortunately, the disc was damaged. That is decay, and it will spread, and it means that the game will not work. I think they only wanted like £1 for this. Of course, having said that, it is only like 2-3 quid in CEX anyway, but I never find it in my local. I think there are 3 Call of Juarez games altogether on the 360, and they're all pretty inexpensive. And on this occasion, of course, I couldn't pick it up because it had decay, and that is something that you absolutely have to check for when it comes to these type of sellers in particular. I mean, you should always check it anyway, but if you have a seller who has crates and crates of video games, chances are they're not going to have checked every single one of them. They pick up collections from places, and they do house clearances where people have their own collections, and a lot of these games will have cracked spindles, they'll be cracked in general, loads of scratches, or decay like what this is. I did pick this up, which is of absolutely no interest to you, I'm sure, but this is British Empire Series 3. I currently have the first 2, bought them in CEX, worked my way through those and just haven't got round to picking up the 3rd season. This was 50p, always worth looking at DVDs in boot sales for box sets. And then I stumbled upon a really random stall, some random sort of figures and collectibles and all the other things here, and then sort of controllers, Wii games, Wii controllers. He did have a stack of like UMDs as well as some Wii games at the back. I asked him how much this Mario Kart was, and he said it was a tenner. Pop that back. I wonder how much this Wii controller is. I thought a £5. Is that good? Honestly, I don't know. I would imagine it's not that bad at all, if I'm being honest. Not sure if this was official. I don't think they made an official one that looked like this, correct me if I'm wrong, but a value version of this controller in CEX sells for £12, and they trade it in for £4, so it was in and around the trade price of CEX. Now, I'm not currently collecting for the Wii, and I didn't really see the point of picking that up to try and flip it just in case it didn't work, because of course anything Nintendo is going to be much harder to fix than something like PlayStation or even Xbox. And as I have absolutely no experience in that, I just left it, didn't even know if it was good or didn't even look it up. Probably should have, but I still would have come to the same conclusion. So unfortunately, I walked away from this stall. Is he ever going to buy anything in a boot sale? If you're enjoying the video and you'd like to support it, just do me a favour and drop a thumbs up. If we can hit 9 thumbs up in this video, that would really mean a lot to me. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please consider doing so. It is free and it really does help out the channel. Yes, I am. This stall was the one. I knew, oh, he's going to pick up another PS4 controller. No, this one was battered. The R2 didn't work. There was no grips on the sticks. It wasn't trade-worthy, not just for those reasons, but it didn't have the barcode on the back. So I had a look at some of the other stuff. So we've got a DS here with a completely smashed hinge. Don't want to be dealing with that, even though it was cheap. And then we have a Mario 64, which I know is a fairly expensive game. It's about 20 quid or so in CEX. and of course it had the game in it, which I thought was a pretty good sign, and of course the manual. So put that to one side in my mind. I'm just wondering how much they're going to be asking for that and how much am I going to be willing to pay. So I asked the question, and the answer I will come to in just a second. A few of the games here that weren't really worth my time. An Xbox at the back, which didn't have a price on it, and I was tempted to ask, but it's really difficult when it comes to things like consoles in boot sales, especially things like an Xbox One. I've got no idea how to fix them or how much they sell for knackered. So I asked the price, and he said a £5, which I thought was a pretty good price to pay. But I'm cheap, so I don't want to pay it. So I said, would you take 4? And they said yes, almost straight away, as if they were expecting it. So I bought Mario 64 on the DS for £4. How many of you were paying attention in that clip that the game inside isn't in fact Mario 64? The game inside is the new Super Mario Brothers. So why did I knowingly buy this for £4 when it had that game inside and it's the wrong case? Because yes, I noticed as I looked at it, I opened it and I thought, right, that's not the same game. However, I know that game inside is worth a fair bit of money as well. In fact, they're worth 20 quid each. So on the spot thinking, I thought I'll split them up. I'll sell the cart for like a tenner and I'll sell the case for as much as I can get for it, maybe £7 to £10. It has the manual with it. Had it not had the manual, maybe I would have second guessed. But that's exactly what I've done, or at least what I'm trying to do. So I've split this up into 2 lots. I have put the case, the insert and the manual separately, no game included, and then I've put the game up cart only, and I'm hoping to make between 15 and 20 quid out of this, of course minus the £4 that I've spent, but I do have to take that £4 off the cash balance, and when these eventually sell I will add on the amount that they sold for to the overall cash. So there we are, finally picked something up, and of course I do have that banging British Empire to add into the collection as well. If you've never seen this, you absolutely have to give it a try. Chris Barry is hilarious.
But as I was saying to Laura, if I do get this post, we'll need to button...
I love you.
You said something.
No, you were the one who was talking, Mr. Brittus, about the consequences of being on this important committee.
Frankly, one thing I could do with that is declarations of love from my deputy manager. Foolishly, I was hoping I can count on your support.
I'm right behind you, Mr. Brittus.
Now, with that being said, that's not all they had on this stall. A couple of other things actually not that badly priced. So you've got Crash Bandicoot Racing and Ghostbusters, both for a £5. That is an Australian rating game, so I can't trade it in. But for a £5, they weren't bad if you're worth picking them up. The price on this was not bad at all. If memory serves, it was 45 quid for that PS4. That is a banging price. Now, the problem with that, of course, is if it's knackered, like most of the stuff here was, this DS in particular was, what's the word I'm looking for? Elastic banded together because the hinges were snapped. So I was a little bit dubious as to whether these consoles were actually in working condition. They wanted 160 quid for the Switch as well. And they had a whole host of other gaming stuff there. Now, unfortunately, there wasn't anything there that I really felt like I needed to pick up. Those Xbox games weren't bad, and in particular, if you were looking to put those into your collection, they were good, especially for the Ghostbusters if you didn't care about the rating system. I can't trade that into CEX. If I was to sell it on eBay or Vinted or anywhere else, I probably wouldn't get much more than about 7 or 8 quid. Not really worth the effort of buying those, so I left them for someone else. When it comes to the consoles, the PlayStation for 45 quid with a controller might have been worth taking a punt on. If it doesn't work, how much do you get for a faulty PS4? Again, that would have been something that I would have had to have looked up. Now, it is absolutely going to depend on the fault of the system, but just looking on eBay right now, the cheapest PlayStation 4 for parts faulty is around 50 quid. So seemingly money was probably safe in buying that, as it did come with a controller as well. And you never know, it might actually have been working. And if it had been working, that would have been banging. But given that everything else on the stall had issues, for example, I bought a game that didn't have the right game in the case. All the DS consoles on the table were smashed to bits. The PS4 controller I picked up as soon as I got to the stall was absolutely ruined. So just those red flags popping up made me think, well, this console is probably knackered. Some sales to talk about. I did have a rogue PlayStation 1 game left in the collection. I do have 1 or 2 others. This is Jonah Loma Rugby and Brian Lara Cricket double pack. Now, this does tend to go for a lot more than this. Unfortunately, the discs are very, very scratched. They do work. I have tested it on my PS2. However, in the condition that they're in, I can't guarantee that they work 100% the way through the game. If you decide to play Jonah Lomu Rugby in a World Cup and you play it over and over and over again, there might be one specific team or one specific play or cutscene or something that doesn't play and freezes. That was explained in the description. It sold for £6. So we can add £6 on to the cash balance, and incidentally, that pays for the DS game that we bought earlier today. And in fact, we're now £2 up on where we started. That isn't the only sale of this episode though, because I sold another PlayStation 1 game. This is Pandemonium. This one sold on eBay. I would have much preferred it to have sold on Vinted. I just much prefer selling on Vinted. I just find it a lot safer. It's a lot less hassle when it comes to things like the postage. All I have to do is click print. I don't have to worry about typing any addresses, getting the address wrong or anything. The seller is the one that is heavily protected by the company as opposed to eBay, who will side with whoever gets in there first. Generally tends to be the buyer, but it sold for £23.95, so about 24 quid minus fees and such. Of course, the buyer does pay the postage, so I can add on that amount to the cash balance in this series, which puts us in an even better position. I was looking to keep this unless I got a really good offer, and 24 quid for me personally for a game that cost me what, £1? That is a very, very good markup. And you can get this cheaper in CEX, I'm pretty sure. It's just the condition that it was in commanded that higher price. So with that being said, I was a little bit flush, and I'm going to do something now that I haven't done in a little while, and this did bring up some controversy in the end, which I knew it would because CEX hate me. Before we get to that though, what happened? Well, I bought 4 games on Vinted. Now I don't have them here to show you, kind of, but I do have a clip of me opening them. So on Sunday I took a walk and I walked past the lockers which these got delivered to. 4 PlayStation 4 games for just over 7 quid delivered. I caught these as they were being listed and I managed to bundle them all together and pay before anyone else had chance to know what was happening, and that is obviously the key to getting a good deal on Vinted. I nearly got a brand new Liverpool shirt, and it was genuine as well. You've got to look out for fakes when it comes to football shirts on Vinted. I nearly got a brand new Liverpool shirt from season just gone, so, you know, brand new, take it with a pinch of salt, for 6 quid, but I was just that little bit too slow. Anyway, 2 games so far, Incredibles and I think Lego Movie 2, and then there's another 2 in here as well. No padding, which really concerned me. This one, I didn't know whether to trade it or whether to look to see if I could sell it or not. This is, was it Force Awakens or something? Know nothing about Star Wars whatsoever. But this is like the deluxe edition. Don't know if that's got anything to do with anything really, because I don't know whether it was all like DLC or not. But I did look it up and it wasn't worth me selling it, so I traded it in. And this is the Lego Movie, the first one. All Lego games. All from the same seller, obviously, and like I said, just cost me over 7 quid delivered, so that is a pretty damn good deal. How much would I have got in trade for these? About 16 to 18, somewhere in that region, and there's the price on screen for you now as well. Thought that was a really good deal, so I took them straight to CEX. And then the unthinkable happened. And I say unthinkable, you know what's going to happen because I knew what was about to happen. Absolutely nothing wrong with these games. There was no damage on any of the discs whatsoever. None of the cases were cracked. It was a miracle that these arrived in one piece because there was no padding and they were delivered by Every. So I sidestepped that landmine and I walked into CEX and I honestly didn't see that there was going to be a problem, but I spotted one particular member of staff behind the till and I knew I was about to hit trouble because yes, I had to go to him. This was the exact same member of staff who didn't want to take a game because it didn't have a barcode on it, and I say that, it didn't have a barcode, but CEX don't care about that stuff. They sell hundreds of games without barcodes, not to be sold separately. I've proved this in clip after clip. So I took the games to this guy, and I say, can I trade these in? Yes, no problem. He is really polite, to be fair to him. It doesn't seem like he's a twat or anything, but when it comes to me and trading things in, he just wants to find fault, and find fault he did. He would not take Lego Movie 2. The reasoning? Oh, it's been discontinued. We don't take this game anymore. Bollocks. They do take this game, but for some reason, when you scan this, it throws up some, not error message, but just some random nonsense. And he took that to mean that they don't take it anymore. However, if you search this on the CEX website, you'll see that they sell it, they trade it, and they offer cash for it. I can add it to my basket right now and I can buy it. I can add it to my basket right now for me to trade in, if you will. So you can send games in and then they evaluate them and all the rest of it, and then they send you a voucher via email. Or they send you cash to calculate your bank, I think, or something like that. But I can do that if I want to. But he didn't want to take it because they don't take it anymore. Absolute load of drivel, and I know that if I take this to a different member of staff, they'll go, beep. Oh, that's weird. Would you like £4 in credit, or would you like blah 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 in cash? That is what's going to happen, I guarantee you. It's just a pain in the arse that I've now got to go all the way back down there just to trade in this hunk of junk for £4. So I got a £12 voucher, which I looked to spend. Didn't find anything, but I had bought something a couple of days before, so stay tuned for that. As I mentioned, I did buy some things in CEX a couple of days prior, so here I am. Looking at the 360 section, I don't only look at this, I do look at, I think I might look at PS5, I definitely look at PS4. I'm on the lookout for some steelbooks to try and flip on, but Forza Horizon, I think that's come down by a couple of quid in the last few days or so. I'm quite tempted to pick that up if I'm honest. The second one is still up there at 15. Do really like the Forza Horizon games, at least, you know, the original two. Fable, with the announcement of the new one, I already own this, of course. This is up to 15. Expect that to go even higher again. Don't know if Fable 2 and Fable 3 will, because they are very, very common. But that anniversary edition, I would expect that to fly as we get closer to the release of that new Fable. Pretty sure that's a long time off, but just worth noting in the back of your mind there. So, what am I looking for? Anything specific? I mean, of course, we've got that vouchers, right? And I am looking to spend, not willy-nilly, as I've mentioned before. You know, I'm not just going to go in here and spend 100 quid's worth of vouchers on 360 games that I don't have. I want them to play them. I want to make sure that they're games that I've never played before, or games that I have very fond memories of that I'd like to go back and play again. Don't have this Resident Evil, and I am looking to collect nearly every Resident Evil I can get my hands on within reason. So I'm looking through. There are not really many games that stand out to me. The only game here that in shot really that I would like is that Ninja Blade that I picked up a couple of days ago. I was hoping there was going to be one behind it, but as you can see, and I'll pick it up again here for you to look at, it is the reprinted cover. People were saying that I've sort of misjudged this game, and yes, it does have a lot of quick time events in it, but I should give it another go, and I will, but I don't want to buy the reprinted cover, so I'm going to have to wait it out. There's 2 copies of this Red Dead Game of the Year edition. 18 quid is not too bad a price to pay, because that was up at like 20 something at some point. So maybe, couldn't really look at the games over here because there was 2 people just talking about films rather than actually looking at them on the shelf, and it was a little bit irritating. I couldn't get past them, but hey, each to their own. You do you, and I will just try and scoot past to see if I can get to the PlayStation 5 section. Now, in the PS5 section, there has to be something sort of really standouty, if you will, that will make me want to put my credit into it, because I'm not really playing much of the PS5 at the moment. I genuinely actually can't remember the last time I sort of fired it up to play a game on it. Like I said, and I have said recently, I use it more as a YouTube player than I do anything else right now. But they had one of these in, Rise of Kong, 20 quid. I think it's probably got some of the worst graphics I've ever seen in a, not just in a next-gen video game, just in a video game. Sifu with the steelbook there. I don't even know if you could buy it without the steelbook, but no slipcover, although I do own it already. I thought it was just interesting to look at. Not a lot of PlayStation 5 games in general here. They look like they've been ransacked. The CEX does look like it's been ransacked a lot, even though the PlayStation 5 section is actually quite tidy today, but not an awful lot of games. I've been meaning to pick this up for the longest time, and I do still have the urge to play some sort of World War II shooter, but for some reason, I just can't justify spending 15 quid on a Call of Duty game. I remember when this came out, and I really wanted to try it, and I still haven't. It's now down at 12, and I was tempted to give it a go, but because it dropped in price so quickly, and from what people have said to me in the comments, it is a terrible game. So I mean, I don't know, I'm just reluctant to spend money on games I know are going to be trash. I have this, what is it, the launch edition, if you will, of the Assassin's Creed Mirage. I haven't played an Assassin's Creed game in such a long time. I would like to maybe try and play them again. It's just, after a while, for me anyway, I think I stopped like midway through the 3rd game. They got very samey, and I honestly just don't see how they've changed. I mean, I can't really say it without much conviction, because like I said, I haven't actually played them in a long time, but there's only so much of stealth and sort of secret sabotage you can do, really. So I'm having a look for steelbooks, and I find one. And I knew it wasn't really going to be worth picking up, but it's always worth a look, because you never know. This is Rainbow Six Siege 6. Steelbook, £8 with a slipcover. The slipcover can add an awful lot of money, so I kept that in my hand. Having looked it up, it sells for about £8, so not really worth picking up. If you want it for your collection, yeah, it would have been absolutely banging, but I put that back because I didn't really see the point. I didn't want it for my collection. Never seen this before, and it looked kind of interesting for £6. However, didn't really want to spend any money on a game that I didn't know if I ever wanted to play, really. This, I'd like to go back through my footage to see how much this used to be, because I guarantee you it wasn't 28. I'm pretty sure it used to be 15. Did it? I mean, if I've got the energy, I will go back and have a look, but £28 for that. I really wanted it at one point, probably never will now. I'm not going to spend £28 on something that I know was half the price not that long ago. And then the rest of the PlayStation 4 games, unfortunately, nothing really stood out to me. However, I did pick up 2 Xbox 360 games. Just worth me noting here, let me go back before that CEX clip to talk more about CEX staff members. I like 99% of the staff that work in my local CEX, don't have a problem with them, really nice people. In fact, the games that I bought today, I had a bit of a laugh and a joke with the person who served me. He said it was one of his favourite games of all time, and I said, oh really? Asked him a couple of questions about it, and then he picked up the other game that I was buying, and I said, oh, I bet you can't say the same for that bad boy, and then he was like, no, can't say I've ever played this one, and then he asked another member of staff, he was like, have you ever played this? And he went, no, can't say I have, and you'll see why in just a second.
This is great banter.
But my point is, I do have a bit of a laugh and a joke with a lot of the staff members that work there. It's just that one. Oh, that one. Anyway, let's talk about the games I picked up. So the game that he said was one of his most favourite games of all time, and of course it does come with controversy here, and I'll show you in just a second. It is the Game of the Year edition for Batman Arkham Asylum. Now, I have to kind of understand where he's coming from here, because this has a very, very good combat system. Where does the controversy come in? Is it because he said Batman was one of his favourite games of all time? No, it's actually something wrong with this in particular. He gave me a classics disc. Oh, it's the end of the world. So, does that bother me? No, to be honest, it doesn't. However, when it comes to like resale, I don't know why I'm doing that, because resale is a thing. If I want to sell this on in the future, that might lower the value of this, and you know, it's not a classics. It doesn't have a classics manual, if that is a thing, but the game is a classics. I only realised this when I got home. Can't really be bothered to take it back and say, look, can I just have a non-classics disc, please? Because like I said, it doesn't really bother me. The case in this instance is all that really bothers me, because the condition of the disc itself is actually perfect. There's not a mark on it, not even a fingerprint. I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to be happy that I've got it, and I will give it another go very soon. I have played it all the way through at least once, if not once and a half, and I enjoyed it. And because it was only a £5 and it was the Game of the Year edition, I thought, well, now's the time. Let's just pick it up. Why not? Let me know what you think of this in the comments. Did he have any right to call this his favourite game of all time, or at least one of his favourite games? Can you understand where he's coming from? So I'm happy to pick Batman games up and put them into the collection, but that is absolutely nothing compared to the next game I'm about to show you. This game is a masterpiece of epic proportion, I'm sure. And I say I'm sure because I've never actually played it. This is Summer Stars 2012. What is he doing? Complete with a manual as well. I love athletics, like absolutely love it. I mean, not to the point where I'll actually watch it.
He was always a strong believer in gold and all that. I mean, he didn't go to church nor nothing.
No, didn't carry it to ridiculous lengths.
But I love running. I've competed in 100, 200 and 400 metre events back in the day, and I love running now. Ran yesterday, will run today, will probably run tomorrow. So anything like this is right up my street. Now, I've never heard of this before. I would imagine it came out to coincide with the London 2012 Olympics, alongside and to rival, if you will, the London 2012 Olympic game, which I also own, and it's fine. It's not as good as Beijing 2008, and none of them compared to Olympic gold, but I am willing to give it a go. Now, when I first saw this and I saw the Connect thing, I thought, oh, you have to have Connect to play it, but it just says better with Connect. So I haven't actually tried this out yet, never even heard of it before, as I mentioned, but it's an athletics game, and so long as there is a 100-metre sprint in here, I am there. I really hope that they have 200 and 400 as well. But that'll be enough for me. I spent £1.50 on it just to see if the 100 metres is any good. So I did spend £6.50 of my credit. However, I did add £12 in credit to the series here. So all the figures, they've been updated and verified by an independent adjudicator, and they are now on screen for you. If you'd like to know whether you can find enjoyment for spending just £1.50 in CEX, you can click here. And until the next time, goodbye.